This is definitely one of the most densely foreshadowed films in the Saw series. As a key turning point from the Jigsaw era to the Apprentice struggle, it not only completes Hoffman's origin story, but also, through its multi-threaded narrative structure and numerous new traps, it maximizes the atmosphere of horror and suspense. Next, I leads everyone to dissect the hidden human currents within this web of death. The story takes place after Hoffman closes the iron door. Strahm discovers a secret door on the wall. He does not hesitate and kicks it open. Behind it is indeed a passage. Seeing the tape recorder hanging in midair, Strahm quickly takes it down.
Hello, Agent Strahm. If you're hearing this, then you've finally found what you've been looking for. But is the discovery of my body enough? Or will your insatiable hunger to uncover the truth push you deeper into the abyss? Heed my warning. Do not proceed. For this room can either be your sanctuary, or it can be your grave. The choice is yours.
What is even worse is that all his equipment is placed on the oil barrel by the wall. Clearly, the other party has already anticipated that he would trade injury for life. Immediately after, the device automatically activates. Note that this is a detail. Those who have watched the previous parts all know that no matter who is in charge of the game, even if they want the test subject to die, they only tamper with the device. But when it comes to Strahm, this crucial step is directly omitted. Considering the ending of the fourth part, Jigsaw's death, this means this is not a test for Strahm at all. Instead, Hoffman wants to use this to frame Jigsaw for the eliminations. Next, the story returns to the plot. As the glass case fills, Strahm pulls out the pen from his pocket and performs a tracheotomy. After pulling out the pen's core, the pain of suffocation is immediately relieved. Hoffman, unaware of this, walks out of the factory holding Jeff's daughter. Currently, everyone who knows his identity is dead, as long as he does not show any flaws. With the little girl and Jigsaw's remains, he can not only completely clear his name but also possibly receive a reward. But before he and his assistant can finish speaking, a colleague pushes Strahm out. Hoffman is very shocked. He clearly makes all the preparations, so Strahm should not have any chance of survival. But since things have come to this, he has no way to change it. What he does not expect even more is that the forensic doctor finds a tape in Jigsaw's stomach.
Are you there, detective? If so, you are probably the last man standing. Now perhaps you will succeed where the others have failed. You think you will walk away untested? I promise that my work will continue. You think it's over just because I'm dead? It's not over. The games have just begun.
Hearing this, Hoffman's mind cannot help but recall past scenes. That year, he is just promoted to detective when his younger sister is killed by her boyfriend Seth. As a law enforcer, Hoffman originally wants to punish Seth through the law. But what he never expects is that Seth, who is sentenced to 25 years in prison, is released after serving only 5 years. Since then, Hoffman is completely disappointed with the legal system. So he imitates Jigsaw and ties Seth to a secret room for punishment.
Hello, Seth. I want to play a game. Right now, you're feeling helpless. This is the same helplessness you bestowed onto others. But now, it's onto you. Some would call this karma. I call it justice. Now, you served 5 years of what should have been a life sentence for murder. A technicality gave you freedom, but it inhibited you from understanding the impact of taking a life. Today, I offer you true freedom.
The device Hoffman designs for Seth is called the death pendulum. Its working principle is similar to a combination of a mechanical clock and a guillotine. After activation, the axe blade swings back and forth regularly. It descends once every 10 seconds, completing the fatal cut at 60 seconds. Seth has a switch on each side. By putting his hands through the hydraulic press and pressing both switches simultaneously, he can shut down the device. But the cost of doing so is having his hands completely crushed. Seeing the axe blade already descending, Seth has no choice but to brace himself and press the switches. However, he does not know that the content of the video is only meant to mislead the police. Ultimately, Seth undergoes bisection under Hoffman's gaze. Soon after, the police receive a report and arrive. The facts are exactly as Hoffman expects. With the familiar modus operandi and his guidance, his colleagues have no suspicion. But just as the plan proceeds smoothly, a yellow envelope is slipped into the folder. After he opens it, he finds only one piece of paper inside, which reads that the sender knows who he is. Feeling uneasy, Hoffman immediately rushes out, but even after chasing to his apartment, he does not find anything unusual. Seeing this, Hoffman has no choice but to give up. Who would have thought that as soon as the elevator doors close, he is attacked by Jigsaw? When he wakes up again, he is already tied up in a strange room. Learning that the old man in front of him is Jigsaw, a storm instantly brews in Hoffman's heart. He never imagines that the other party would dare to kidnap an active detective. What shocks him even more is that Jigsaw even knows his motive for imitating the crimes. Hoffman wants to break free from his restraints. As soon as he lifts his arm, he is discovered.
I wouldn't do that. Here, Trigger. What do you see? Vengeance can change a person, make you into something you never thought you were capable of being. But unlike you, I've never killed anyone. I give people a chance.
You call this a chance?
We'll see.
Our game's just begun. Our game? You don't even know me.
I know you. I followed you as you've pursued me.
Upon learning that Jigsaw witnessed the entire process of his punishment of Seth, Hoffman can no longer remain calm. He knows very well that if this matter is exposed, he not only loses everything he currently has, but also faces lifelong imprisonment. However, he overlooks one thing. If Jigsaw is just seeking revenge, he can simply write an anonymous letter to report it. Seeing Hoffman become increasingly frantic, Jigsaw no longer wastes time and directly gives him two choices. He must either redeem the guilty together with Jigsaw, or he must stay there forever.
Or I could kill you right now.
But you're not a true killer. That's your dilemma. And the information that I have on you is exactly where it needs to be. And it will be released in the event of my disappearance.
They'll never believe your word over mine.
You willing to take that risk? Risk of ruining your own life in order to protect a corrupt legal system that puts murderers back on the streets? How'd your sister feel? You're at a crossroads, detective. Make your choice.
Hoffman hesitates for a few seconds and finally chooses to accept. After that, he abuses his power to help Jigsaw find suitable test subjects and also participates in designing multiple games. For those interested, they can watch the explanations of the first 4 parts. The story now returns to the plot. Looking at the post-mortem Jigsaw, Hoffman cannot understand when Jigsaw noticed his abuse of the game. At the same time, Jill is called to the law firm, and she feels very surprised to learn that Federman is entrusted by Jigsaw. What she did not expect even more is that there is also a videotape among the relics. Seeing that Jill knows nothing about this, Federman impatiently puts it into the VCR.
If you're watching this, Jill, I'm long gone from this world. You are my heart. You always have been. You always will be. I'm not going to try to explain my actions of late. Suffice it to say that I find it difficult to forgive myself for what happened at the clinic. I permitted, indeed encouraged, your decisions regarding the people there. I saw danger and I should have acted sooner. I'm leaving you a box today, and its contents are of grave importance. Even though you and I don't always see eye to eye on everything, I deeply believe in you, and I believe that you will know what to do with these materials.
As the video nears its end, the man immediately takes out the box. Looking at the keyhole on top, Jill immediately pulls out the key Jigsaw gave her earlier. Just as she expects, the box opens, but after seeing what is inside, Jill's expression instantly becomes tense. Then she quickly closes the box. Soon after, the police announce the case is closed to the public. Hoffman, as expected, receives a medal. He just returns to his office. He finds a familiar envelope pressed under the keyboard. After he opens it, it indeed reads that he knows who the person is. Feeling a sudden sense of dread, he goes straight to the evidence room. Unexpectedly, just as he takes out Strahm's phone, a colleague brings him news. Learning it concerns Perez, Hoffman immediately senses an opportunity. When he arrives at the hospital, only bloodstains remain on Perez's hospital bed. Everyone should take note of this detail. It sets the stage for the plot of the sixth film. For those unfamiliar with Perez, they can watch the recap of the previous film. Next, they return to the story. Hoffman intends to seize the opportunity to extract more information, but he gets interrupted before he can finish speaking. Learning that Perez said his name before she died, Hoffman realizes Strahm already suspects him, so he immediately changes the subject to the secret room. Hearing that the other person saved his life by puncturing his throat, he instantly guesses the general situation. Considering Strahm's recovery time, Hoffman concludes that someone else placed the envelope, so he stops wasting time.
So unless you've got something else to say, back the fuck off. Read the papers. I saved that little girl.
Hoffman leaves the hospital room without looking back. However, he underestimates the other person's persistence. After meeting his superior, Erickson, Strahm immediately requests to interrogate Jill again. He is informed that due to his unauthorized actions causing multiple deaths, his superiors have forbidden H from interfering with the case. Strahm is very unwilling to accept this. Judging from previous cases, he concludes that Jigsaw, before his death, left behind a more secretive contingency plan. However, what responds to him is a cold, retreating figure. But Strahm does not give up. Instead, he secretly returns to his office to retrieve Jigsaw's relevant files. He is shocked to discover that one of the test subjects killed Hoffman's younger sister. To verify his suspicion, Strahm immediately rushes to Seth's crime scene. Combining this with the contents of the case file, he quickly finds a peephole on the door. But this alone cannot explain anything. So he returns to his office and takes out all the case files for the Jigsaw case. Specifically the cases after Seth's.
After Seth, you were involved in every investigation. When did you first meet Jigsaw?
Meanwhile, Hoffman arrives at a new secret room. Watching the 5 people on the monitor screen as an indescribable tremor rises in his heart. This is Jigsaw's final arrangement before his death, and it is also his first time designing a multi-person test himself. As the 5 people in the room wake up, the game officially begins.
Hello and welcome. From birth, you've all been given the advantages of few others. Yet through poor moral decisions, you've used these advantages to selfishly further only yourselves at the expense of others. Well, today, this singular way of thinking will be put to the test. Today, 5 will become 1 with a common goal of survival. You are all connected. A cable runs through your collar devices. It can be pulled so tight that you will be decapitated on the mounted razors. The only way to remove the collar is with the keys from the glass boxes on the pedestals before you. However, if one of you moves to retrieve a key, the 60-second timer will begin for you all. In choosing how to react to this situation, your lifelong instincts will tell you to do one thing, but I implore you, to do the opposite. Let the games begin.
They look at the timer on the wall and the homemade bomb connected to it. The 5 people instantly understand that if they do not leave the room within 15 minutes, they will all die here. So, several people immediately begin to sort out the connections between each other. But since it is their first meeting, only Ashley states her job. Malik sees the situation and directly rushes towards the key. Charles tries to stop him, but it is completely useless. Seeing that the timer has already started, he simply rushes forward to compete for it as well. Relying on his excellent physical fitness, Charles successfully obtains the key. Next is Luba. She imitates him, wraps her fist in her jacket, and successfully smashes the glass. The third is Britt. She is very clever and obtains the key without feeling any pain. Malik sees it as his turn. He rushes towards the key again. Unexpectedly, Ashley also rushes forward to compete for it. Feeling the force on the wire, Malik immediately kicks and shatters the glass. Then he pulls forward with force. As Ashley is pulled to the ground, Malik successfully gets the key and unlocks the collar the moment the device activates. Seeing this, it is not hard for everyone to realize. If Ashley does not compete with Malik, they both can get the keys and unlock their collars. But neither of them wants to be the last one. And this is human nature, the truest reflection in extreme environments. When life enters a countdown, victims often choose to betray rather than cooperate. What is even more tragic is that this situation will intensify in subsequent tests. Next, the story continues. Seeing Britt collect all the keys, Malik is very confused. But what he gets are only the 2 words, "ask less." As the game progresses smoothly, Hoffman begins his plan. Using the excuse of looking for Strahm, he calls Erickson.
You had something you needed to discuss about the jigsaw case?
Yes, I stopped by Agent Strahm's room tonight at the hospital, but he wasn't there. I hope he's all right.
Oh yeah, he's fine.
Agent Strahm was theorizing about the possibility of an additional accomplice to Jigsaw, other than Amanda Young. Someone who might be currently unknown. Did he ever mention anything like that to you?
No, but then again, I'm new to the case.
Yeah, well, maybe you can get him to contact me at his earliest convenience.
I will do, and, in your theorizing, who exactly did you suspect would be an accomplice?
Upon learning it is an insider, Erickson's expression instantly becomes serious. But before he has time to investigate, a familiar figure flashes past the door. Feeling a sudden sense of unease, he quickly chases out to check. When he discovers Strahm took all the Jigsaw case files, Erickson's heart sinks immediately. At the same time, Luba and the 3 others arrive at the next room. Looking at the timer on the wall, they decide to first figure out each other's identities before closing the door. It turns out Charles knows everyone's situation very well. Ashley used to work at the fire department. However, the police arrested her 1 month ago. Luba works at the city administration. However, her father is the owner of a famous team. Britt is the vice president of a real estate development company. Malik is a wealthy second-generation heir who does not work. Charles is an investigative journalist for the Pioneer newspaper. This is why he knows so much about them. Seeing that they cannot find a connection between them, Charles directly closes the iron door. The bomb in the first trial immediately detonates. Immediately after, the television in the room automatically turns on.
Hello, and welcome to the next lesson. These walls hold 4 chambers. These chambers offer safety. However, to access them, a key is needed. But only 3 of the keys will fit the locks. These keys are in the glass jars, hanging from the ceiling. Move quickly, though, because when the clock ticks down, the explosives in the corners of the room will detonate. With only 3 points of safety, which of you will be the odd man out? Make your choice.
As the timer starts, Malik immediately picks up a wooden stick and smashes the jar, completely forgetting High's previous lesson. Exasperated Charles immediately takes action. Luba rushes forward to stop him, but it is completely useless. Charles only turns his attention to the jar above his head after Malik loses the ability to resist. Soon, Luba and Britt find a key. The last one falls in front of Malik, but Charles would never let him have his way. Just then, Luba suddenly ambushes him from behind, and an unsuspecting Charles falls directly to the ground. The two rush towards the crypt corresponding to the key, drilling into the deepest part at the moment the countdown ends.
Wait!
After the three come out of the crypt, Charles has already perished.
That guy was an asshole, but he was smart. We could have used him.
Well, someone had to die.
Would you rather have been you?
Upon hearing this, Britt instantly understands that Luba considers her and Malik as weak. If the subsequent tries still require competition, the two of them will die. Meanwhile, Strahm arrives at the secret room where Paul was tested in the first film. He looks at the peephole on the door panel. Combining this with the forensic autopsy report, he becomes even more certain that Hoffman is the accomplice. Otherwise, Jigsaw alone could not have subdued Paul and moved him here. It is even more impossible for him to so precisely target so many test subjects. To find more clues, Strahm returns to the Gideon meatpacking plant. As the truth in his mind gradually becomes clear, a deadly trap designed for him quietly takes shape. First, Jill finds Erickson, claiming someone has been following her. Immediately after, Hoffman uses Strahm's phone to contact Erickson, telling him to track the signal. The destination is the secret room used to test the 5 people. Meanwhile, Malik and the 2 others enter the next room. Seeing the familiar timer and bomb, the 3 finally stop hiding their secrets. Malik once accidentally caused the deaths of many people. Luba often accepts bribes when issuing licenses. Britt, on the other hand, consistently uses illegal means for forced demolitions. Seeing that there is still no connection, Britt directly closes the iron door.
Hello and welcome. You must all be eager to learn the next important lesson in your transformation. The game before you is designed to bridge the gap between you all. In order to open the 5 locks on the door out of this room, the 5 electrical circuits powering them must be closed. The only way to do this is to find a way to connect all 5 cords to the bathwater. Close the circuits, and the door will open, but you must work quickly.
Knowing the door will lock permanently after 3 minutes, Luba immediately drops her disguise. The unsuspecting Malik falls into the bathtub. Then Britt also walks over. Malik completely despairs at the sight. But the next second,
You killed her. You fucking killed her.
I didn't trust her.
Jesus Christ, what is it with you two?
seeing that time is running out, Britt does not bother to explain and immediately asks Malik to help move the remains. Then she starts connecting the wires. As the voltmeter reading reaches 100, the iron door opens. But what the two did not expect was that behind the door is another room. A transparent box also sits there. When she discovers a chainsaw, a hose, and a measuring cup inside, Britt immediately guesses the nature of the challenge. She hears that the measuring cup needs to be filled with blood. The door opens. Malik quickly suggests using the water from the bathtub. However, he is told that the hose connection is sealed, and he can only activate it by reaching his hand into the box. As Britt is about to close the door, Malik suddenly thinks of a solution.
Do you still have the keys from that first room?
Yeah,
Try one of them on that door.
it won't work.
No, it might. This one has a keyhole.
However, after she takes out the key, she freezes in place. She sees that the 5 keys are identical. When she discovers the 5 holes on the box, she immediately rushes into the previous room. Looking at the water in the bathtub and the 5 wires, Britt suddenly realizes. It turns out that in the first challenge, they only needed to get 1 key to unlock the 5 collars. For the second challenge, although there are only 3 chambers, each one can accommodate 2 people. As for the third and fourth challenges, if all 5 people are still alive, they only need to endure minimal damage to pass. But it is too late. They have no way to change it. They can only accept this cruel reality. As an explosion sounds, the television in the room automatically turns on.
Hello and welcome. This journey has been one of discovery, and hopefully you've discovered the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The human body, for instance, is an astoundingly durable creation. It contains approximately 10 pints of blood, yet it is still able to operate with just half of that. The device before you is one of sacrifice, a sacrifice of blood. In order to open the door, the beaker must be filled to the marked level, a level that is of no coincidence. This amount can come from any one of you. That does not matter. What does matter is time. For in 15 minutes, if the beaker is not filled, the bombs will explode and the doors will be sealed forever. So now I ask you, how much blood will you give in order to survive?
But at this moment, the two people already know the best way to pass the test. Therefore, they do not fight each other. Instead, they tacitly choose to cooperate. He looks at the rapidly spinning saw blade. Malik does not know if he can leave alive. So he voluntarily reveals the secret in his heart. Previously, to cover his tracks, he sets fire to an empty building. Unexpectedly, 8 holdout tenants still live inside. Later, the government intervenes in the investigation and arrests him. Fortunately, his father's financial power is strong enough. And this is how they suppress the matter. What leaves the deepest impression on Malik is Charles, who relentlessly pursues him. Upon hearing this, Britt instantly realizes the connection between them. What she does not expect is that she is the mastermind behind this incident. Initially, to acquire the land at a low price, she instructs her subordinates to find someone to set the building on fire. After everything calms down, she bribes Luba to obtain a permit. She then packages everything as legal development. Now it seems that her subordinate finds Malik. As for Charles and Ashley, they are likely bribed by Malik's father to jointly cover up the truth. Upon learning that Britt is behind all of this, Malik's fear is instantly replaced by anger. However, the immediate priority is to save their lives. So, the two of them brace themselves and reach for the chainsaw. When Erickson arrives, Malik is already lying motionless in a pool of blood. Britt crawls outside. Erickson immediately calls for help and then continues to search for evidence. When he discovers that the police folder contains the victim's file, he immediately pulls out his phone to contact Strahm. However, the phone rings behind him. What he does not expect is that his photo is also on the table. At this moment, Erickson can no longer remain calm. He immediately orders his subordinates to issue a warrant for Strahm's arrest. Unaware of this, Strahm has already followed Hoffman to his home. When he discovers a secret door on the floor, Strahm enters without hesitation. The truth is just as he expects. A secret room is indeed hidden below. Seeing the familiar tape recorder, Strahm immediately picks it up.
Hello, Agent Strahm. If you are hearing this, then you have once again found what you are looking for. Or so you think. Your dedication is to be commended. But I ask you, if you have learned anything on your journey of discovery. As the old adage goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The situation you find yourself in is one of trust. So I ask you, Special Agent Strahm, have you learned to trust me? The only way to survive this room is by entering the glass box before you. Pain will be incurred, but you have a chance of survival.
Strahm originally intends to apprehend Hoffman from behind, but a reflection in the glass exposes him. Having no other choice, he can only engage in hand-to-hand combat. With his excellent skills, he quickly traps Hoffman in the glass box. But before he can celebrate, the room's door automatically closes. Strahm rushes forward to pull the door, but even with all his strength, he cannot open it. Having no other choice, he interrogates Hoffman. However, the other man points to a tape recorder on the floor. Next, the audience immerses themselves in this textbook-level twist.
However, if you choose not to, you will never be heard from again. Your body will never be found. You will simply vanish. I ask you, Special Agent Strahm,
Have you learned enough to trust me? Will you heed my warning? For if you do not,
Fuck you.
this room will forever be your tomb, and my legacy will become yours.
If you're good at anticipating the human mind,
I think I'm being followed.
Who would be following you?
I want to talk to Jill Tuck one last time.
He suspected someone on the inside.
it leaves nothing to chance.
We were all supposed to die. You were supposed to be the hero.
Make your choice.
I will discuss why Jigsaw, before his death, allowed Hoffman to design a game. Viewers who have watched the previous 4 parts easily find that Jigsaw is never a butcher who only stares at the immediate prey, but a chess player who can predict the outcome several steps ahead. It is evident from the tape he leaves in his stomach that he already knows Hoffman is abusing the game, killing everyone who gets close to the truth. He also anticipates he and Amanda die in the test. Therefore, he makes such arrangements before his death. He tries to guide Hoffman to understand redemption instead of killing. If he succeeds, his philosophy continues. But if Hoffman continues to use games to kill Strahm, then he will be completely exposed. As for how he is exposed, the 6th film reveals the answer. Also, the film reveals when Jigsaw gives Jill the key, and the contents of the box are also explained in the 6th film. Alright, today's content ends here. See you in the next episodes.